Absolutely. So I see the little icon showing that we're live. Mike, are we on the air here?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes,
Oh.
yeah.
Welcome, friends, to a tradition unlike any other, the finest football show. I'm Connor. I'm joined by my good friends, Matt, Teddy, and Mike. What's going on, guys?
Nothing.
Okay, great.
And
that's a wrap. And I'm done. That's all I had. All right, before we start tonight, I just want to remind people that you can go to draftwithredzone.com and save $10 at checkout with code FFFinest. That's FFFinest. Want to start us off, as usual, with the most interesting question of the night. What is everybody drinking? And there's no
I'll start.
Okay, wow.
I'm gonna take Matt's Matt's take from last week. He was drinking the scotch, so I am gonna drink some bourbon tonight. In the glass here, I have Eagle Rare 10-year, which is by far one of my favorite bourbons. Same family as the Pappy Van Winkles. It's just look, for the bang of the buck. It's a rare find, but very fantastic bourbon. Still has a great bite to it, but it also has the flavors are nice and cohesive with each other. You still get a little bit of that pepper, but nice vanilla finish keeps it nice and smooth.
Well, not to get onto like a Pappy rant here, but you can get, if you go to like a fancy bourbon bar, you can get like a glass of like the 15 or 23 or whatever for like $50, or you can, if you like find a bottle, it's 200.
Where are you finding a 23-year Pappy for less than $250?
Well, that's what I mean. Okay. So let's start with that 10-year, like the family Van Winkle, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like $20. But then like the bottles at 200, and retailers mark them up like an insane amount. And, all the Weller bourbons, that's the same recipe at the same distillery.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you're not I don't know, I guess like do it once, don't spend like half of your rent.
Yeah.
On like a glass of Pappy, because have we all had it? It's not that special. It's good, but it's not that special.
So you're not wasting a first round pick on Pappy? Is that what you're trying to do?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
So Eagle Rare is like the same. It's the same mix and everything, the same recipe.
Not necessarily the same recipe, but it's it's distilled by the same family that does all that. It's like under the same umbrella.
I was surprised how inexpensive Eagle Rare was, because I thought I always kind of put it on like the echelon of like the small batches, the higher end.
Mm-hmm.
But like you can get it for what, $35 a bottle?
It's down to 33 now. But honestly, It never used to be like this. Just going back like 4 or 5 years ago, it was pushing $50, but it was a lot harder to get, and that's why. Like Wegmans, for instance, was one of the first places that I saw it. They would get 1 or 2 6-packs in at a time. I'd buy one whole 6-pack just to hold on to it, because they would get it like maybe once a season. And when I was managing bars, it was so hard to get. It really was. But now that it's made on, it's becoming a little more mass produced, so it's a lot easier to get. So the prices are a little more affordable, which is nice.
Bourbon bottle 6-pack is a bold statement.
Yes.
Hot take.
Yep.
Drinking bourbon is like eating charcoal. Teddy, what are you drinking tonight?
I've got a Moscow Mule.
Very nice.
Just on some ice here, but
whoa. Where's the copper mug?
Yeah, I don't have a copper mug.
Then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Well, they're all like lined with tin on the inside, or lead, or asbestos anyway. So
Diaz, you know the story behind that, right? Like why they said it has to be in like a copper mug.
I actually hate, I'd make them all the time. We never used it, at the restaurants, and people are like, oh, I don't want this. It doesn't come in a copper mug. I'm like, it doesn't change the way it fucking tastes, dude. Just drink it.
Yeah, no, it's the only reason that they had it in a copper mug is the person who came up with the drink. His brother, I think it was, ran a factory that was making like cups out of copper. So
it's boom times for the copper cup industry, because as soon as Moscow Mules hit like 5 years ago, everybody, including me, got some. Well, my wife got copper mugs, and I haven't used them at all. They sit on top of the oven, so.
Yeah, I prefer my Moscow Mules in glass. At the end of the day, like the copper mug's a weird thing, so I'm drinking the old-fashioned way.
I don't know what people are doing with their Moscow mules, because like Cutwater came out with like those pre-mixed Moscow mules in the cans, and they're like flying off the shelves. So I don't know if anybody's like buying them and then pouring them into a copper mug. But if you are, you're an asshole, and I don't like you. Matt, what are you drinking?
It's hot out here in Colorado, so I'm drinking a Tall Cool Lone Star lager.
Very
the
nice.
National Beer of Texas. So two things about Lone Star. Number one is it's great because it's got like these little riddles in the caps, and that keeps you entertained.
So it's like a lion's head, right?
And Pabst Blue Ribbon used to be.
Well, so this is my second point, Connor, is that like these are all just like, it's the same beer, right? Lone Star and Narragansett and Old Style and PBR and Natty Boh. It's all just like regionally branded, but it's the same fucking shitty lager, right?
So hold on a second. Don't you dare say shitty lager. I have the theory, or what I always prefer to go to each like part of the country and have basically their version of PBR or whatever, like Narragansett. So Baltimore's got their Natty Boh, Chicago has Old Style, Texas has Lone Star, and Pittsburgh's got Iron City. I always enjoy like the drunk way better off of that when I'm visiting the city. You got drink like the locals do.
We should do a taste test, because you can get any of those, I think, pretty much, at least where you guys are, I bet. We should do a taste test and see if anybody can tell a difference between any of them.
I don't know that I've seen like Lone Star. There's certainly Narragansett, but like Lone Star or Old Style, like maybe if you go to one of the big ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Old Style, you can't. I mean, Lone Star, it used to be that they didn't distribute outside of Texas.
Oh, really?
Like I don't know if that's just a new thing like that they've done in like, well, because Colorado is technically, they're Big 12 members, so maybe that's like a thing that they're doing.
We're pretty close to Texas.
But yeah, so I used to I tried it when I was in Austin, and then I wasn't able to get it anywhere else. The same thing the first time I tried Old Style at Wrigley Field. I was like, holy shit, like I really want to get this back home. And Narragansett was the same. You couldn't get it outside of
Rhode
Island,
it's a regular lager.
Yeah.
I say
a regular guy, okay?
Yeah.
Come on.
I say shitty endearingly. It's like an endearing shitty. There's lots of shitty things that are excellent and wonderful in my life. So
hot dogs.
Yeah, hot dogs are shitty. They're great.
Nothing like a good Natty Boh at Camden Yards, even though they don't sell it there anymore. But anyway, that's beside the point. What are you drinking tonight, Connor? I am drinking the same thing I probably was drinking last week, because I still have it in my fridge.
Got off the truck. I get it. Yeah.
Dude, I've got 40 of them in my fridge, I think.
We gotta come over and
drain
your fridge, so you gotta drink something different.
Anytime, gentlemen.
That's the predicament I was in. I'm like, man, I've been drinking the same shit on this show for like the last like month. I have to switch it up. I'm not ready to do an IPA. It's too hot and like summery for me to do an IPA. So I had to switch.
Well, I'm going to move on from this after I finish it, because we've been talking so fucking long that I drank almost all of it. I'm gonna get some tequila and maybe a splash of grapefruit, just because I feel fancy.
Love
it. All right, gentlemen. Mike, you got any news for us this week, or
no? There's been not a whole lot of news. Not a whole lot of news. I mean, hey, look, Hard Knocks premiered last night, which is really great. Training camp is up and going. We're starting to see some players come off the IR COVID IR list, whatever you want to call it, which is really exciting. Training camp, Hard Knocks, in my personal opinion, was actually a pretty exciting show. You got to see some insights from some players that I thought were eye-opening. Anthony Lynn, not a player, but the coach of the LA Chargers, who was someone that I didn't know a whole lot about. I mean, I knew him, but watching him, how he talks to his guys and kind of how he corrals them, made me an instant fan. And that's what Hard Knocks really does. Like, you get an insight into how these coaches coach, and you get to see them, how they interact with men on a person-to-person level. And I'm an Anthony Lynn fan now, honestly, awesome. which is really great.
Well, you could tell he was a good coach because he changed the culture immediately.
Absolutely.
In San Diego, now Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And that team is always competitive. And like, they still have like that weird luck thing that makes them lose games, but
it's called Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
But yeah, no, he's a great coach.
Great coach. Love him. The Rams, I mean, just they are LA. Like, when you talk about LA, you look at McVay and his house with his trophy wife who's, plastic up, and, they got this house with the, they're hardcore LA with the all the amenities that they have out there and anything like that. But after the first episode, I'm rooting for the Chargers. I think they have some pretty good storylines going on, and should be pretty interesting. It was a little annoying how they bounced back and forth between the two teams all the time, but that's all right. I like it.
That was always going to be difficult with two teams, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like how are they going to do that?
Yeah. I kind of thought at first it would be okay, first half of the episode, second half of the episode, but they did a good job at what they were trying to accomplish. The overarching storyline was held together very well.
And we shouldn't be surprised. I mean, HBO has made Hard Knocks exciting every year, despite its flaws and sort of repeated nature. But that's a training camp. Training camp sort of is a cycle anyway. But like, I love the rise I get from it. So it's glad I shouldn't be so surprised that HBO pulled it off.
Yeah, 100%. And I gotta say that the music always good for Hard Knocks. I mean, just that opening theme, like they have some cuts in there in between that are really good. I gotta say, really feeling it this year. But yeah, let's see.
That's it from news around the league and a little bit of just discussion.
I mean, they canceled college football. That was a weird thing.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I don't want to talk about that, honestly. I'm pretty depressed, but sure, let's dive in. Matt, go ahead.
I think spring ball makes a ton of sense. Mike and I were texting back and forth. He doesn't think it makes a lot of sense for the players, but it's not ultimately up to the players. I mean, that's kind of the NCAA's modus operandi, is they do what's in their best interest. And if you look at the timeline that, if they play 8 to 10 games, they have 2 bye weeks, one in the middle of the season, one before the college playoff. They're done in April. That gives the NFL a little bit more time. They can still hold that draft at the end of May, and then it gives the players 3 months off over the summer. So yeah, it's going to be difficult, but everything is difficult in the pandemic. And so if the alternative is no football, I think it would be great to have like this nonstop stream now of football. I mean, the NFL offseason is bloated. The bowl season is bloated. If we can condense those and then also add this new spring season, I think it's a win for viewers.
Well, I think it creates an environment where if you're going to do all leagues having spring ball, you get kids on campus, you figure things out. And then this way you don't have to go like week to week, just being terrified how many guys you actually have to put on the field. And you can kind of just have a little bit more time to just like work out the kinks and hopefully, I mean, you won't have to quarantine, people, but I just think that's kind of inevitable, but, get your team together, work through things and just try to then like plan as, everybody's back on campus and working through because they've had a shortened, they haven't had the same amount of time to work in the, the off season this year, right? Like they did. I don't know what the actual length of preseason football is for college football right now due to COVID. But I honestly think that if you err on the side of caution, especially with amateurs, it just makes a lot of sense to me as opposed to just nixing the entire season. I know that we wouldn't be upset with having football go, continuously. As a degenerate gambler, I would be extremely excited. Anyway, and also that would leave me more time to gamble on college basketball because apparently they're feeling pretty good about trying to get guys on campus early for basketball. So
I think some of the coaches, I forget exactly who came out and said it, but they said that football, especially for the fall, is if you want to talk about if player safety is really such an issue here, which we know it's not when it comes to college football. It's a liability issue and a money issue. But you want to talk about player safety, a lot of these guys are coming from nothing. Playing football and being on a college campus and in these programs where it's a controlled environment. These kids aren't going out and doing whatever they may be doing if they're home and hanging out with the wrong type of crowd. It really is a safe haven for these kids to be playing football, and that it's, everything's controlled there, between the medical facilities and, the staff and everything like that. So I think that, like I said,
I don't know if everything's
it's a liability issue.
But I don't know if everything's controlled, but I would say that the resources are far greater.
For sure,
for the kids if they're going to be on campus. But yeah, I think regardless of what coaches and the administrators want to say, it's really, really difficult to try and control that many college kids.
So let's take a look at this. Let's just say they do a spring season. They're over by April. April is a big time for the NFL. It's when the scouting combine takes place. So these kids are going to play an entire season. Are they going to do the scouting combine at the end of April or early May? You push the draft back to maybe June. That's usually when OTAs and mini camps kind of start happening. So the timeline just kind of gets, everything is altered, which is understandable given the climate that we're in 2020.
I think if the NFL can make money on it, I think they'll find a way to make it happen. And I don't think that the timeline, I guess everybody's, kind of standing on their head to make things work as it is right now. And the NFLPA and the NFL in general, I'm sure they'll find a way to just kind of make everything work, just considering circumstances.
Yeah. And you're going to, ultimately at some point they'll ask the players, would you prefer to have, this final season to prove yourself, or would you prefer to have, nothing, and then, just leave it up to whatever you've done already. I think a lot of players gear up for, they have that final season in their minds, and then they gear up and then they plan to showcase their talents there. So I think that they would jump at the chance. I guess I can't speak for them, but I think a lot of them, and you're hearing that from Trevor Lawrence, a lot of the Clemson players, that they want to play.
Justin Fields too.
Yeah, so I think that they would take a shortened spring season and then an expedited off season or an abridged off season.
Yeah.
I mean, if the NFL would pay up for a semi-pro league, they wouldn't have to deal with any of this bullshit right now. But that's something that the NFL and the NFL and the NBA just refuse to do, which is kind of funny.
Real quick, breaking news as of right now, maybe just a couple minutes ago, and maybe this kind of all will change our mind on them. The Dallas Cowboys have signed Pro Bowl, All-Pro defensive end Everson Griffin. Which
really,
now you take him, you pair him with DeMarcus Lawrence. Already you've added Gerald McCoy and Dontari Poe on that defensive line. They already have a great stable of linebackers. Secondary is going to be a question going forward, but that front seven now looking pretty intimidating for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, their issue last year was run defense, as we've gone through in the past. And their stats were fine, but if you really watch the tape, they were just gashed at critical moments, and then they weren't able to get their offense on the field. So yeah, adding Everson Griffin helps. He's 30, but it's better than what they had. So yeah. It's an upgrade for them.
I think what they get with Everson Griffin is he still has pass rush capability. We saw that last year, even though he's getting a little bit older. But he sets the edge very well as a 4-3 defensive end against the run, which is very important. And what you just alluded to there, Matt, they struggled in the run. Outside runs, inside runs is where the Cowboys really got eaten alive. And you put him on the strong side, I think he's going to do very well in that defense, especially with the weaker offensive lines that they have in the NFC East.
I'm glad he's out of the NFC North. I'm happy about that.
This moves the dumb money towards the Cowboys, because I am going to bet my ass off against them, because I think they're gonna fucking suck. Anyway, all right. So since the news was short this week, and I hope I'm not cutting anybody off, we're gonna move into a new segment that we've not tried thus far, but I'm kind of excited about it. So we're gonna do like a draft or pass kind of situation. So everybody's going to pick. We've got your major positions: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, as per fantasy. and everybody's going to pick 5 players per their position that we've previously assigned. And then the rest of the people on the show are going to say whether or not they would draft or pass on that particular player. So, Mike, I don't know who you want to start here, but
let's start with the quarterbacks. I mean, that's right. The way to go, right?
The sexy position. Who's got it?
Me, the sexy panelist.
Never, just kidding. Let's go with running back. Who's got running?
All right, let's start at the top. I got 5 here. Lamar Jackson in round 2. Are you spending that amount of time, that amount of value to take Lamar Jackson?
So Lamar Jackson in round 2, I am saying pass. We've talked about this in the past. I think reaching for a quarterback in the first 3 rounds is a little bit difficult, especially from him to expect that he's going to repeat the same performance that he had last year. It's slim to none. He's going to do well. He's still going to be a top 5 quarterback for fantasy, but he won't live up to those expectations.
Pass. Same reason.
Love it.
Pass. Also, same reason.
Oh, it's your player. You don't get to choose.
Fine. No, I won't say anything, Matt. Thanks a lot, asshole. Yeah, no, I'm going to pass 2 just because my keeper rounds are 2 and 3. So fuck you, Matt. Anyway, next up.
Well, I think that it makes an interesting point too, that like you might grab him in the 3rd or 4th. Like people might come to their senses last minute.
Yeah. You have to look at the added value for Lamar Jackson, but in the 2nd round, it's just a little bit tough, but he is going to give you quarterback numbers. He's also going to give you running back numbers. But drafting him that high is just going to leave a hole on your offense.
A shitload of points on the board. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
His ADP is 19. And Mahomes is right behind him at 20. And we're in a 10-team league, so that's what I'm basing my rounds on.
Yeah.
I probably should have mentioned that at the beginning. Look, somebody's going to take him. Yep. I mean, if you're in three leagues or something, I guarantee you in one of those leagues, somebody's going to take Lamar Jackson in the 1st or 2nd round. Guaranteed.
100%. All
right. Now, if you're in like a league that starts 2 quarterbacks, it actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
To do that. So
for sure.
I guess we have to throw in that caveat. And so that these are all based on our league, and I think what a lot of leagues are structured like. All right, next player, Kyler Murray in round 5.
I like Kyler Murray this year, so I'm going to say draft here because I think he's got a stable of offensive weapons. I like Kenyon Drake as a running back. You had DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald is still there, Christian Kirk, Andy Isabella is a burner, Hakeem Butler brings a lot of size and red zone threat. And he finished as a top 10 quarterback last year. So a year 2 in the books, another year under his belt. Why not? Why not take him in the 5th round? I mean, the other options that you got going on there, you're looking at a couple of, Dak Prescott's there. You're looking at a couple wide receiver 2s and running back 2s.
Deshaun Watson might be there.
Maybe. Yeah. But so, I mean, if Deshaun Watson is available, why not? He's younger. I'll draft him in the 5th round.
I'm still passing. The 5th round is still like, give me guaranteed numbers. Like I would sooner take like a Russell Wilson or a Deshaun Watson in the 5th round, which is maybe approximately their value. But Kyler Murray has shown some things, but like he hasn't proven to be guaranteed elite. 5th is too high.
Could not agree more, Teddy. I'm definitely passing. I still need more skill position guys before I'm even thinking about Kyler Murray in particular. If somebody else drops that I'm not expecting, then definitely I might make a move on a quarterback in the 5th round, but not for Kyler Murray.
Yeah. I appreciate Mike's enthusiasm. He makes a lot of good points. And again, I think that's a pretty appropriate value for him. But if you're going to take a quarterback in round 5, there might be safer options.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Josh Allen in round 7.
Pass. Josh Allen, he capped out at 20 touchdowns last year. The defenses in the AFC East have only gotten better. They added Stephon Diggs, but Stephon Diggs has been a wide receiver 2 his entire career in Minnesota. So now he's going to be getting, and we talked about this. I would like to touch on this topic after, but let's talk about double coverage. So Stephon Diggs was wide receiver 2, as I said, in Minnesota, and he faced double coverage not that often as compared to Adam Thielen. So he's going to be getting the likes of Stephon Gilmore, the Jets defense, okay, Xavier Howard or Byron Jones is there in Miami. Those are all top 10 corners. Okay, so can he handle the wide receiver 1 role? I don't know. And he's still not that accurate of a passer, let's be honest. He adds some value in the run game, but in the 7th round, there are better options like we talked about with Kyler Murray.
I'll take the opposition here just to go through the paces. I think it's a fair value for him. Quarterbacks are just like overvalued to begin with, just like in general, and maybe our league waters them down even more because they all score like 35 points. But in the 7th round is like, yeah, so now I've drafted maybe 3 receivers, 3 running backs. I'm feeling really good about my skill position. And I just want a quarterback that's like gonna be steady. And Allen is, for his flaws, been pretty steady. He's got like decent legs. He'll run the ball into the end zone himself. Sort of those goal line touches. You'll get your touchdowns. You make a good point about the Stephon Diggs facing more double coverages, but he's got a little bit of a better receiving core. He's definitely an upgrade over, the second fiddle last year. Slot me in for Josh Allen.
Boom, done.
No, hard pass. I'm not going to pontificate. It's the fucking Bills and it's Josh Allen. I'm passing on that. Matt, go ahead.
The only reason why I brought up Josh Allen there is because like Teddy said, like you have your team built out already. And Josh Allen, like there's a ton of promise. He got a new receiver. He's progressed in his first 2 years. Maybe he makes the leap this year. And so if you're really bullish on Josh Allen, I wouldn't fault anybody for taking him. Yeah. I probably wouldn't. All right. Next one, Kirk Cousins in round 14.
Wow. Round 14. That's the 15th. I was going to say the 15th round, but yeah, round 14.
That's like the 15th
round. Yeah. Kirk Cousins. Urban, what can I say here, guys? So yeah, I'll draft him. Especially if I already have a starting quarterback that I've gotten in maybe rounds 10 through 13. I think he's a great backup quarterback. If you're drafting Kirk Cousins to be your number 1 quarterback, I think that's where you'll find a lot of fault. But I mean, Kirk Cousins has put up good numbers. He's not going to win you playoff games, but he's going to win you. He can win you a couple fantasy games, especially as a backup or if your starter goes down. So yeah, Kirk Cousins in the 14th round, 15th round, whatever. Yeah.
I was going to say the same exact thing. Like, this is the classic example of like, this is where stats matter. And Kirk Cousins is a pretty good stats guy. But like, you're right. It's like as the guy that's going to put you over the top of the playoffs, maybe not. But yeah, I'm taking him in the 14th round all the time. In fact, like maybe I will draft him as my QB1, but if I'm on a strategy where I'm drafting 2 QBs at the end of the draft, if it's like Kirk Cousins and someone like comparable that you're getting all the way back there and you just like load it up on other talent, crazy. Crazy.
That's what's going to be this year though.
Mm-hmm. Had you said the 15th round, Matt, I probably would have said yeah. But the 14th round is definitely reserved for a punter. So kicker, I should say. No, but yeah, Kirk Cousins definitely draft in the 14th round. I just think there's a lot of solid value there, and if I'm waiting that long, definitely.
Well, surprise! I added a punter in our league this year, so suck it.
Tupa.
All right, last one, and this is a multiple choice one.
Oh,
I'm blowing up the format before we even started.
Love it.
So, which of these currently undrafted quarterbacks in our league, that's 1 5th year later, would you actually draft on your team? Gardner Minshew, Teddy Bridgewater, or Cam Newton?
All right. I love this because I've been very high on him this year, and that's Gardner Minshew. I think he brings a lot to the table that the other 2 quarterbacks don't. Teddy Bridgewater, when you look at his time with New Orleans, they barely threw the ball. I mean, he averaged 150 yards a game, if that, even though he went 5-0. I think he goes into a pretty rough situation in Carolina. But Gardner Minshew won 6 of 6 on a not so great Jacksonville team. He was improvises. 6 and 6. That's what I said.
You said he won 6 of 6.
No, I said he went 6 and 6.
I heard what you heard, Matt.
Let's fight about it for 5 minutes.
Let's move
Go
on.
ahead.
Either way. The guy is a great improviser. That offensive line was not that great. He moves very well, and he's very accurate with the football. Threw for over 3,000 yards and 21 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions, which is great for a rookie quarterback. Okay, you got DJ Shark there, who turned into an immense talent out of LSU. D.D. Westbrook is a burner, and now they added my favorite receiver in the draft was Laviska Shenault, who's very talented. He can be that jet sweep guy. He's very good after the catch, add some value in the return game, whatever. I love Gardner Minshew. I think he's got fire. He's got the talent around him, even though no one thinks that Jacksonville is talented, but it's there.
Yeah, and don't forget Leonard Fournette had 100 targets last year too. So that all goes to Gardner Minshew.
Is this a multi-select? Because like I like Gardner Minshew also, but I mean, how can you not say Cam Newton? Like I'll stand on Newton corner here for 8 seconds.
I like that.
I cannot say
it. He's a former MVP. He truly is a Superman. He's a special player, one of a kind, and now he's on the Patriots with Bill Belichick. Like, give me a break.
I'm going to be, I guess, the lone guy to do this. And I know you have all been low on the Panthers this year, but I'm definitely taking Teddy Bridgewater out of that group for sure. And frankly, I might draft him as QB1 in our fantasy draft. I really think I think the Panthers, everybody's expectations are super. That's kind of just how I bet. And regardless, when everybody else is super low on a team, I try to be the converse viewpoint. I think Bridgewater has a ton of talent. I think that they're kind of surrounding him with some. The pressure is relieved greatly by the fact that he's got one of the best running backs, if not the best in the league. So, and he's got great wheels. So he's got a bailout on 2 accounts there. I really love the possibilities, and also not to mention those 2 things. I mean, in addition to the 2 things I just mentioned, the fact that you have a brand new offense coming in. And Mike, I know you went on ad nauseum about a brand new offense and then having a year to prepare for that offense that you just saw. Nobody's going to have a year to prepare for the offense that the Panthers are going to put on the field. So I don't know. I think Bridgewater could surprise this year.
Yeah. My argument is not to say that Teddy Bridgewater won't have. I just like Gardner Minshew above that. I think Teddy Bridgewater is actually a great dark horse for like that top 15 pushing range. So he's going to spread it out. The one thing about Teddy Bridgewater is he is extremely accurate with the football, and in Joe Brady's offense, I think that's going to be great for him.
Yeah, I mean, first year coaches, first year offensive schemes have had a lot of success recently. There's several examples that I won't name, but and I think ultimately, to your point, Connor, the Panthers are totally under the radar this year. But DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel are really good players, and Christian McCaffrey is the best
Robbie Anderson
in the NFL. Yeah, and Robbie Anderson. So that's just more speed.
And an offense that nobody had an answer for in college football. I mean, and not to say that guys have had great success going from college football to the pros, but I just think offensively, I don't know. It just seems to have decent things in place.
To be fair, this is a pro style offense. Joe Brady was with the Saints before he went to LSU. So this is not something that's necessarily new.
Matt Rule's not necessarily just giving the keys to, Joe. I mean, he appointed him, but Matt Rule is obviously going to have some say in what's happening on the field because he just went to Baylor from Temple and just kicked the shit out of everybody in the Big 12. His defense couldn't stop, Anyway, but go ahead.
All right, running backs. Let's do it.
Great. Well, so I grossly misunderstood the assignment.
No, Matt, hold on, because Matt's format, as far as would you take Kyler Murray in this route? I'm not going to do that for my position because that's not what I thought was supposed to happen.
Everyone likes their own little flavor.
I thought that I was creating the will I draft or pass, and then you guys could rebut my,
I would love to rebut. Go ahead. Yeah. All right.
But you know what? I've already altered my list in a permanent way. So I'll start with one thing that I'm definitely passing on because it'll segue me into the format. Is I'm passing on drafting 5th overall. I love the first 4 running backs, and then it's like, do you go receiver or do you go with one of these second tier guys. And the one I'm going to throw out first is Derrick Henry, who is the 6th running back and I guess 7th overall pick. How do you feel about Derrick Henry in the first round, top half even of the first round?
I draft him. I mean, Derrick Henry is a beast. He got his extension and the offense runs through him, especially with a guy like Ryan Tannehill there. You can't always just game plan for Derrick Henry, even though that's what defenses will do. Having a somewhat above average quarterback that's not named Marcus Mariota, who can actually distribute the football to his big wide receivers. And they have big wide receivers there in Tennessee. So if you want to stack the box against Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill is going to eat you alive and keep defenses honest, which is very important from an offensive perspective. So yeah, Derrick Henry in the first round, no one can stop him. Dude, he ran through, Baltimore's defense. He ran through Kansas City's defense for the most part of that game. Before Tannehill kind of gave it up in the playoffs on top.
Mike, are you there? No, I'm sorry. I lost you.
Did you not hear any of that?
No, we got it. We got all at the very end.
So Matt, hold on one second before you speak, because I want to make like an Oreo here: informed, uninformed, informed. I think Derrick Henry. I feel actually pretty strongly about him in the first round. I don't know if Tennessee is actually going to have, I wouldn't bet on them as far as wins or losses this season, because everybody's obviously feeling really good about that team. But I really think Derrick Henry, that team is going to continue to follow the format that's like been successful for them. And I don't see why he would have a off year. He's going to continue to do what he does. They're going to game plan the same way. And I mean, pretty much everybody was ready for what they brought to the table by the end of the season, and he continued to do what he does. So I like Derrick Henry. I draft.
Derrick Henry's a tough one for me because I recognize his talent. He's a 2,000-yard rusher capable of that. I mean, he could very well break the rushing the rushing record this year. I'm concerned about losing Jack Conklin on the offensive line. And I'm going to pass on him because there are other players I like better. I like Aaron Jones better. I actually like Austin Eckler better because I really value PPR receptions. And Derrick Henry is not that kind of player.
25 tops.
If you're in the standard league, he's a top 3 player. But in PPR leagues, I have him more towards the back of the first round, 9 or 10.
Yeah, I'm a pass on him. This is part of my lead in, and I worry that Mike, to your point, that like Tannehill can beat you, so they don't have to run him. Like if you can stack the box, but now they've got a guy that actually could beat you through the air potentially, and just keep doing it until you don't, and maybe that will eat into the touches or whatever. And he's just isn't a PPR back. It makes me nervous. I think that it's got like the pull back a little bit, maybe still 1,200 yards, but just without those catches, it's like, who knows? And the touchdowns could go down too. So, yeah. All right. So I'll force the order here. Connor, you're gonna rebut on this one first, and maybe it's a guy Miles Sanders, who is the 12th running back off the board. So your last RB1 at 23 overall.
Ooh, I am very high on Miles Sanders this year. This is a guy that if I weren't already kind of set at that position, just judging by like we're in a keeper league, just be completely transparent to everybody out there. If I weren't so stacked at that position already in the early rounds, I would definitely. I'm drafting. I think he's gonna put up really good numbers. I'm just a Miles Sanders fan, and I like that offense, especially with their receivers who are trash. And I mean they're going to be run heavy. Will defenses be able to game plan against that? Obviously, Miles Sanders. I'm drafting.
Yeah, 23 is great value for him, especially knowing that there's no way in hell that he's being drafted at 23.
Yeah.
He is early second round material. But if he's there in like the beginning of the third round or the end of the second, that's a no-brainer. You cannot pass on that guy. Miles Sanders, he has excellent breakaway speed, and he's got above average hands, which is great in the PPR leagues. But hey, let's be honest, there's no one else in that backfield that is going to challenge him for opportunities. Who's there? Boston Scott? Yeah, I trust that guy over Miles Sanders. Get the hell out of here. All right, so easy draft.
Dude, Boston Scott's a viable option, but not at 20, whatever.
Exactly.
I am going to pass on Miles Sanders. He's just not a guy I'm high on. I think maybe he needs to prove it one more year. The thing that gives me pause is that he had 50 catches in 11 games last year. Mm-hmm. I just have been burned by Eagles running backs in the past, and so I need to see him A, stay healthy, and B, the Eagles commit to one running back for an entire season before I invest a third round pick on him, especially when you can get like Josh Jacobs might slip to that point. Keenan Allen.
Wait, hold on one second, Matt.
We'll be there.
I'm sorry, dude.
I think there's going to be a lot of guaranteed points at that turn from in the second and third around picks 20 to 25. So I would take one of the more guaranteed options than Miles Sanders. And, if I'm being honest, it's probably to my detriment. I'm sure he's going to have a fine year. Those receptions, would really give me pause and make me think twice about drafting him.
What are you worried about? 50 seems like a regular number for 11 games.
That's what I mean. Like I'm saying I don't want to draft him, but 50 catches in 11 games is awesome.
Oh,
and
okay.
So that would give me pause and make me think about him.
You just want to be contrarian.
Yeah. No, but I also agree with Mike. There's no chance in hell he makes it that far. I can't believe that's his ADP.
Yeah, according to Fantasy Pros, so it goes.
Yeah. No, I believe you, but
well, sometimes I make things up or use illegitimate sources with not enough data points. Yeah, his most recent news blurb says that running back coach Deuce Staley is quoted as like, you don't need to monitor his touches. So like they're thinking of him potentially as sort of a 3-down guy. So
he's young. So they're going to use the hell out of him. Yep. Use him and abuse him.
All right. I'm going to throw it right back at you, Matt.
Okay.
Talk to me about whether you want to take the 20th running back at ADP 54, Le'Veon Bell.
Oh yeah. So that's the 6th round. So I already may have 3 running backs. And I probably will have 3 running backs at that point, and I would gladly add him as my 4th, as my bench. I think Le'Veon Bell is due for a bounce back year. The biggest concern for me is not his attitude or his health concerns. It's Adam Gase. Adam Gase refuses to run an offense like the Steelers ran, even though it'd be beneficial to them because like the personnel are really similar to the Killer Bees, including having one of them, Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell only had 3 touchdowns last year, and that number has to go up. It just has to. He's too good of a player for it not to be. I'm not concerned about his age. I'm not concerned about his injuries. My only concern is the scheming. And if Adam Gase doesn't scheme to get Le'Veon Bell the ball, he's out. And then all of a sudden you're looking at a pretty decent keeper value for next year with Le'Veon Bell. So I love him in the 6th round. Oh my God.
Bell in the 6th round is like, oh my God, like that's ridiculous. And going back to Miles Sanders, same point. There is no way Le'Veon Bell is getting drafted in the 6th round. He is a 4th round draft pick, and I don't see him getting past the 5th round at all. So it's like these kind of overall numbers they're a little bit skewed in this sense. But hey, 6th round, I'm getting Le'Veon Bell, a potential, look, you draft him. You can't pass on him there. Simple.
I'm going to pass. First of all, the Cubs just beat the Indians.
This is coming from a Jets fan, people.
Best record in baseball. Cubs just beat the Indians. Anyway, I'm going to pass because A, it's the Jets. B, his name isn't Curtis Martin or LaDainian Tomlinson. And fair. C, Adam Gase and the quarterback situation. I have no idea what the Jets are going to give you this year. It's not like I'm going to bring this guy up a little bit later, but or I'm not going to bring him up by name right now, but the tight end position as a bailout position for a quarterback that is unproven is like one of those locks where you know they're going to get touches, maybe not touchdowns, but they're going to get touches because it's just, I don't know, especially a young quarterback. I have no idea what to expect. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell is a stud, or he was a stud. Hasn't been so for the Jets. I think when you come from success to the Jets, you get a stank on you.
That hurts.
So yeah, I'm gonna pass on him because hopefully I have my running back situation sorted out well before then. And if there's value at that point, I'm definitely going for any fucking young wide receiver or young running back in a better system.
All right. My gut says Bell will be an RB2 or better, so I would take him there. Okay, so I have a clusterfuck happening at the end here. So it's going to be a speed round because one of the things that I was passing on when I thought that I was giving the opinions on running backs is all of the guys on the high side of a threatening running back timeshare. So I have a few jotted down that like give me pause, and I'll briefly say because there's 4, so I'll throw one to each of you. Like the earliest of these situations is a Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, where Nick Chubb is being drafted at 9th running back overall. All of my positions are the running back positions, not the actual ADP. So like in the scheme of running backs, is the 9th and off the board, and Kareem Hunt's at 29. Like people are high on Kareem Hunt. And I just I can't get behind someone, especially when we were just talking about you could grab like Miles Sanders, who's really got like no threat to him. Maybe Derrick Henry's there. Keep me away from Nick Chubb there. So Mike, let's throw you the Denver Broncos situation. Melvin Gordon is the 18th running back and Philip Lindsay is the 39th. How do you feel about those guys?
I think so. Melvin Gordon, it's going to be a timeshare. And honestly, we've talked about this in previous iterations of the show that we don't know why the Broncos even signed Melvin Gordon in the first place. I mean, Philip Lindsay is a very talented running back running behind a shit offensive line with a rookie quarterback with no semblance of a wide receiver outside of Cortland Sutton. And then Noah Fant was a young tight end, but Philip Lindsay was doing this without these guys. And I think they're going to really try to run the ball this year, especially with the offseason that they had, no preseason games. When you drafted 3 rookie wide receivers, you drafted 2 rookie offensive linemen, you lost your starting right tackle. Garrett Bowles is Charmin's toilet paper, if you ask me. So I think they're going to try and run the football as much as they can. Melvin Gordon, I think, is a little high at that value. He's going in like the 4th or 5th round, if I'm not mistaken. But I love Philip Lindsay as look, if you're drafting Melvin Gordon high, you have to take Philip Lindsay as a handcuff, no matter what. In any of these running back by committees situations, you almost always have to take the backup if you're drafting the top guy.
Yeah, Lindsay 39, crazy. The 39th running back.
Yeah,
not 39th overall. That's wild. All right, Matt. Jonathan Taylor is the 19th running back, and Marlon Mack at 36.
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one. Real quick, I'm staying the hell away from Chubb. When Kareem Hunt came back in those final 8 games, they had the same amount of fantasy points. I'm staying the hell away from Melvin Gordon. Philip Lindsay is a dog. All right. Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack. People are really high on Jonathan Taylor, and I don't really understand why. He was productive in college, but he's probably the least ballyhooed of the rookie running backs coming out. They invested in Phillip Rivers, and I think that Frank Reich wants to throw the ball. I know that Marlon Mack got his numbers last year. I think that actually plays into the case that Marlon Mack is still going to be a major focal point of this offense. So honestly, I'm staying the hell away from both of those players. I can't see a situation where I draft either of them.
Right on. So That's the first like not definitive. Don't draft the high guy. It's just like just stay away from the whole situation.
I really would.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you guys say? Would you draft either of them ever?
No. Jonathan Taylor, where he's going, I'm not drafting him there, especially as an unproven rookie. Look, we're not just talking about Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack here. They also have a very good third down running back in Nyheim Hines, who had like 40 to 50 receptions last year. All right. This is Frank Reich's system. Okay. Let's look at what Philadelphia did. All right. When they went on their Super Bowl run. Name the starting running back of that team. That's right. I can't name it either because they really had 3 or 4 running backs that year. It's a committee, and that's what they're going to do. Whoever's got the hot hand, they're going to ride that, and then they're going to move on to the next guy.
Yeah, but if you're playing committee running back, why would you draft such a high-profile guy like Jonathan Taylor? I think. I don't know.
I think it's a good point.
I think he comes into the stable, and I think his talent kind of supersedes the rest of the guys there, even though both of those guys have, especially Marlon Mack, have proven more than serviceable. I really, really like Jonathan Taylor. I think he's a workhorse. I think he's got the goods, the skills to pay the bills. And I feel like perhaps it's tough to say a draft in that. What was his position? What's his ADP or like what the projected? Like
the 19th running back.
Okay, so.
Middle rounds. Somewhere.
Yeah. I feel like he's definitely worth a flyer. So, all right, especially if.
No, but not taking the 4th round. My God.
Yeah. No. Fuck. All right. So 4th round, maybe not, but man, if I can get him in the 6th. And then in a keeper league, I think I don't know. I feel like he could really surprise, and he's got a kind of guy that you want on your team for the future for sure. So I really don't know. I like Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis because I feel like that team, especially with like a guy like Quentin Nelson on the line, I think that team is going to be, regardless who ends up playing quarterback for them in the next couple of years, I think they're going to be really stable, really good, and a dream spot for a running back who's very capable.
I think good. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, he's probably good in dynasty leagues for all the points that you mentioned. He like that situation just reminds me of David Montgomery coming into a loaded backfield in Chicago and just not getting the carries early on, and then he never just kind of built up the head of steam or any kind of like momentum over multiple games. Like you saw the rookies like Josh Jacobs do.
That's the Bears, Matt. It's the
Marlon Mack is going to play. Marlon Mack is going to play a lot, and sure. I can't think of a more frustrating situation than to be watching your fantasy score on Sunday and like hoping Jonathan Taylor gets the carry. Like there's no chance.
What about the Browns?
So the last one in the speed round, which is turned into just a regular round, Connor. You get to take this one, and it's good because we got another rookie. You're taking DeAndre Swift at 57 or Kerryon Johnson at 90.
That's a tough one.
It seems like okay value on both of them because, like you were talking, in our league, 6th round pick.
So, DeAndre Swift, health issues and size for the NFL. What was the position again for DeAndre Swift?
57th ADP.
I'm gonna pass. And then I'm gonna take Kerryon Johnson.
90.
Yep. Yeah. I'm not gonna talk at length because I'm much less informed than the rest of you guys, but I really I don't know. DeAndre, super talented, supremely talented dude. I just durability and coming into the league. Yeah, I Kerryon Johnson's obviously been productive, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Kerryon Johnson in the draft and pass on DeAndre at that position.
Yeah, I think all of these committees, when you have that rookie involved, you have to take a wait and see approach. You really can't put all your eggs in one basket when it comes to, I'm going to rest on laurels and take this guy in the 6th round. Look, DeAndre Swift is probably my favorite running back coming out of college. Like, he can do it all. And like his value in the pass game, I think is really what makes him stand out. He's very shifty. Kind of reminds me a lot of like Devontae Freeman, the way that he runs with the ball and the way that he can catch the ball out of the backfield.
He's so good. He's
exactly.
so good.
Yeah, but we don't know what's going to happen. Look, Detroit, they invested a lot in their offensive line in this offseason. You have 2 stud wide receivers. You have a very young, talented tight end. And Matt Stafford, hopefully he comes back healthy and his back doesn't fall apart on him. And if all of those things work out, both of these running backs could end up, doing very well. But wait and see approach, I'm passing.
Yeah, the thing is, Kerryon Johnson is a really good player too. I mean, he's a beast. Another situation where I don't know why they drafted or brought in another running back outside of Kerryon Johnson's health concerns. But then, as Connor said, you bring another guy with health concerns. So I don't know. Honestly, I like Kerryon more than Swift this year. So I would lean there.
He's proven it. I mean, we talk about this all the time. Like a lot of us would much rather have proven production over potential.
Mm-hmm.
To put a button on the first half of this segment, it feels like I think quarterbacks and rookie running backs are just overdrafted in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Not that all
wide receiver.
Yeah, let's move.
Do it.
So wide receiver here. All right, let's start off with Michael Thomas, who comes in at first round, 4th overall as his ADP. What do you guys think?
4th overall for a wide receiver is so tricky. But it is Michael Thomas, who's going to get you 300 points this year. I'm going to take him because, in our league, Saquon Barkley is kept by our Giants fan and Penn State alum. So, Zeke, Kamara, and McCaffrey are off the board, and now Barkley is off the board. So now you're looking at like some of these questionable running backs: Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones. And Michael Thomas is clearly the number 1 wide receiver this year over Devontae and Julio. So yeah, I hope I'm not in that position to make that call. But I would, if I was, I probably would take Michael Thomas.
I think I'm taking Michael Thomas. It's for sure.
Yeah, Connor.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Teddy. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nope. I was waiting for you.
It's an easy one. For me, it's an easy one. I don't know if you've got other ideas as far as like running backs and you've got that kind of sorted. I'm definitely going. I need that number 1 wide receiver, and that guy's going to give you a boatload of points. So for sure, Michael Thomas, I'm taking him.
I'm going to take the approach that we're not in our keeper league, and I at 4 am saying no because that means one of my 4 guys is there, and I'm putting Kamara in that little cluster of top running backs. At 5. All day. I love Michael Thomas, super high on him to have like a similar, maybe not, so elite season, but give me him all the time. But I the position of running back drops off so quickly. If you can get Kamara, Elliott, Barkley or McCaffrey, you can't move on from that. So
yeah, that's right.
So I'm going to agree. It's a simple pass for me as well. Exactly to your points, Ted. If one of those 4 running backs are there, you have to take him, and you can't miss out on one of those guys for a wide receiver, especially with the depth at wide receiver this year.
Right.
So, all right, another guy, I'm very high on him this year, and I think he could be a potential league winner. Kenny Golladay, 3rd round, 5th pick.
Yep, I would love that. Yeah, middle of the 3rd round. So I would feel comfortable with Kenny Golladay as my number 1 receiver. He performed with nothing at quarterback last year, and you saw a little bit of the chemistry develop with Stafford when Stafford was playing. Kenny Golladay is a really, really good player. And the whole Lions team is going to be better this year. The offense is going to be better. So yeah, in the 3rd round, I don't think he's going to be there. But in the middle of the 3rd round, I'd jump at Golladay.
The Lions, but I like Golladay as well. Stafford, I feel like this is a big time year for him, and I think they're going to show out. So I agree. I'll take him.
I think it's right price for Golladay, but I I'm looking at the players around him right now, and if like things shift up a little bit, some that are just above him or just below him, like Eckler and Kittle, Amari Cooper, like so these guys are ones that would make me maybe waffle on it a little bit. So, like I'm not going to reach for Golladay, but I like him at that point.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I'm going to draft him with Stafford. He had 3 multi-touchdown games. He ended up finishing the season with 11 touchdowns. The sky's the limit for this kid, especially in in a division where the secondaries aren't as strong as a lot of people think, and there are 2 rookies starting in Minnesota. So we know he should eat at least in those 2 games. All right, next wide receiver, a guy we talked about a little bit earlier, Stefon Diggs, 6th round, 5th pick.
So in some of the mocks that I've done, I haven't done too many this year. Stefon Diggs is usually like my first bench wide receiver, and I feel pretty comfortable about that. But I think I would probably pass on him. I think people who draft him are probably falling into the trap of recognizing a name and past production. Name the last Bills receiver who was a fantasy stud.
Brown had 1,000 yards last year.
A fantasy stud. Stefon Diggs could easily get 1,000 yards, but that's not saying much in fantasy anymore. New team, weird offseason, an erratic quarterback who is getting better, but also a team that has a fantastic defense and an ascending running back that's probably going to want to run their offense that way. And we know that Stefon Diggs can be a hothead. He was a hothead with Kirk Cousins, who is super accurate and only threw to him and Adam Thielen. So imagine when you have Josh Allen who can hit the target, 25% of the time. So I think there's a lot of risk with Stefon Diggs, and I'd probably end up passing on him in the 6th round.
Yep.
I don't like Diggs or Josh Allen, and I'm passing. I'm not a Browns guy. Bills guy, I should say. Pardon me.
I'll take him. I'm going to draft Stefon Diggs in the 6th round. Maybe I'm falling for name recognition, but I think that he earned it. He proved to be talented and a hard worker despite his hot-headedness, but that's a formula that's worked for a lot of wide receivers in the past. I hadn't thought about the Kirk Cousins accuracy versus Josh Allen much, and that makes me a little concerned, but I also think that Diggs sort of plays into Josh Allen's style in a good way, and that he's sort of got that speed, can get pretty open, which might make chemistry sort of natural there. So, but yeah, I'm going to take him.
Yeah, I appreciate taking that point. The guys around Stefon Diggs and ADP, Robert Woods, Le'Veon Bell, James Conner, I would feel comfortable taking those 3 guys over Diggs at that point.
Even Mark Ingram is, close to that spot too, who I like.
And then it gets a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Diggs, I'm going to pass. I think Diggs is an improve-it year for me, and I hope I eat crow, honestly, because I liked him in Minnesota. But he's an improve-it year. He was a wide receiver too for his entire time in Minnesota. Now he's moving to the number 1 spot. He needs to prove it to me first before I can trust him if I'm drafting him to be one of my starting wide receivers, which very well could be at that point in the 6th round, depending on your own draft strategy. All right. So next one, highly contested wide receiver here. Terry McLaurin, 7th round, 3rd overall pick.
Dude, okay, hold on. Both of you, wait. Yes, I'm fucking taking him for sure. And I don't need to justify it. I'm taking him, and then the rest of you two, like you can give reasoning and everything. But yeah, 7th round, yep, for sure, I'm taking him.
I think it's an interesting position for him because it's like basically the same ballpark as Diggs. Like you could be having this debate, like Diggs and McLaurin, and I am unresolved. I think that I would be higher on McLaurin, which means that based on the fact that I'd be willing to take Diggs where I said, I would take Terry McLaurin 7th round.
Okay, I will give reasoning. Darius Geis just got dismissed from the team, and they're going to need to pass the ball a lot because they have nobody running the football. So I'm going to say
Peterson.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson, chalk him in for 1,800 yards.
He's a fossil.
And 3 receptions.
Ancient. I'm sorry. Terry McLaurin showed out as best he could last year, and I think okay, Matt, go ahead. Sorry, buddy.
I'm gonna pass on Terry McLaurin. Dwayne Haskins sucks. Kyle Allen is not good if he ends up being the starter.
Good thing Alex Smith is back.
Yeah, Alex Smith. I am so rooting for that guy, but I saw some clips of him running, and it's rough. It's tough to watch. At that point in the draft, I've got my core set, and so I'm looking at some flyers. I'm looking at Cam Akers, who's 2 points ADP above him. I'm looking at maybe AJ Green for a bounce back year. And I don't think he's going to last this long, but Darren Waller is 1 point ahead in ADP. And if he's there, I would jump at Darren Waller.
This is the TE section, Matt.
So I would at that point in the draft, I'm switching my mindset to guys who have really high ceilings but might be boom or bust. And Terry McLaurin, I know has a higher floor, but I'm just not that. I just wouldn't be that excited about having him on my bench. I'd much rather have like a speculative play at that point.
Yeah, Terry McLaurin is a big pass for me as well, especially there. He needs more tape for me to be drafting him in the 7th round. If we're talking 9th or 10th round, yeah, sure. And Terry McLaurin's there. Why not? But he doesn't have the body of a number 1 wide receiver. He's a slot wide receiver. That's the type of body, and he's a deep threat. He's not the guy that's going to win in double coverage, which he's going to be facing a lot of this year. And I just don't think the value is there in the 7th round, and people are projecting him to have these crazy numbers. I just don't think it happens. Ron Rivera wants to run the football, and he's going to have to with whoever's starting at quarterback, but he's going to run the football. That's for sure.
Yeah, the Redskins are building through their defense, with their draft picks, obviously, but then also Ron Rivera, and then keeping Adrian Peterson around, who just continues to perform. And I think that's why probably losing Darius Geis was a blow to them, because I think that's the way that Rivera wants to run that team. And then also don't forget that Steven Sims came on late in the final 6 games of the season at wide receiver.
Quinn is also there at wide receiver. It's going to be
a Brady Quinn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Terry McLaurin, like 1 round later, but not there. Yeah. Not there.
All right. Last wide receiver, a guy who has gotten around, to say the least. Brandon Cooks, 10th round, 6th pick.
No, pass. Brandon Cooks, just pass. I have to follow his newsfeed too closely.
I can't stray away from the talent of Brandon Cooks and the speed of Brandon Cooks. And now you're talking about your 3rd, 4th bench spot, your 3rd, 4th, 5th, maybe wide receiver.
Yep.
With DeAndre Hopkins gone, that's a speed team. I'd take a flyer on Cooks. That's speculative, no doubt. And if it was any higher, I probably wouldn't. But the value seems okay there, and I will undoubtedly get burned by it, no doubt.
Well, the way you draft, Matt, yes, you will get burned.
I like low touch fantasy teams.
So
like solid floors, but I don't need to put any effort into it, and I'll cruise into 6th place.
I'm gonna ask the informed guys. Brandon Cooks is coming from what team?
Rams,
the Texans.
What team? Okay, and the Texans lost what wide receiver?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay.
They added Randall Cobb.
And still have Will.
You know what? Yeah, who's good? I mean, for the first 5 games of the season, I think Brandon Cooks should worry about touches. But no, I don't know. I'm going to draft him. Yeah, I durability. I love Will Fuller. Supreme talent, but just not maybe not built for the league or the sport. But Brandon Cooks, I think, can be definitely an asset in that offense. So.
Yeah. outside of last year with the Rams, Brandon Cooks has finished as a top 15 wide receiver in every one of his seasons in the NFL. So getting that potential, if he can stay healthy, get rid of the concussions and everything like that in a spread offense with Deshaun Watson as your quarterback and a legitimate threat at running back, yeah, that potential in the 10th round, I'll take a flyer on him. Why not?
Yeah, but you also have to remember he was on the Saints and Rams on like pretty high octane offenses
And Patriots.
And like the Texans, I think, will be better than maybe people are expecting. And Deshaun Watson is still a playmaker. They do have a ton of speed, and David Johnson's going to help, blah, blah, blah.
They're going to score points. Someone's going to be catching these touchdowns.
Yeah. So. But it's not those two situations, and he's another year older, and he's had injury concerns.
Okay, can you shut up now so we can talk about tight ends? Because this is the most important part of the show.
All right, you don't shake concussions. That's Jared Cook.
For no reason. What do Mark Bavaro, Jabari Holloway, John Carlson, Kyle Rudolph? I'm just kidding. I'm not going to talk about Notre Dame tight ends and the pros. All right, so we got
they're Notre Dame tight ends.
What's Notre Dame?
Let's talk about tight end U. Notre Dame. Mike couldn't have picked a better position to assign me. Anywho,
that's why I did it.
You're a gem, Mike. Anyways, all right. So I got 5 guys, and
great
I
burgers.
kind of just skipped through. Hilarious, Mike. Thank you so much. I skipped through the first, the obvious choices because I want to see what you guys are going to take your flyers on with the tight end. Yep. So number 1, Travis Kelce. What do you think about all right. So Jack Doyle. And what I'll say about Jack Doyle is he's got the whitest name I've ever heard. And Eric Ebron leaves to the Steelers, who suck. And then what's his face from San Diego or Los Angeles comes
Hunter
in.
Henry.
Hunter Henry comes in to play quarterback. No, I think his name's Philip Rivers. He's going to take over quarterback duties, and so you've got Jack Doyle, and then nobody else that's proven in their tight end core. What do you guys think?
Let's see, where's he going?
Yeah, what's the slot?
Jay Doyle.
Well, you guys look that up. I am drafting Jack Doyle. He is like the unsung hero of that offense. He has done nothing but produce, and guess what? He's also a really good run blocker, which also means he's on the field the majority of the time. They have this other guy, Mo Alley-Cox, there as like the backup, who's okay, but he's more of a receiver. Jack Doyle has been a captain on that offense for the last 3 years, I believe. So he's got the talent. He's got very good hands. He's not going to beat you down the field in one-on-one, but he's very deceptive in the zone coverage. He'll sit underneath and get you the first downs. I like Jack Doyle, especially where he's valued as a probably undrafted tight end.
Yeah. So I should have prefaced the segment by saying that like many of these guys, like it could get drafted, but there's a possibility that they might go undrafted. So this is the late round conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Of course.
Do you want them on your team?
Yeah. Do you want them on your team? And you don't have to worry about ADP. It's just like, if this guy's available with a late pick and you're set at other positions, are you looking at this guy? So we've got Jack Doyle, and I'll let the Teddy and Matt, you guys talk about it.
All right.
I love him. Like you did this. Thank you for giving me a new sleeper target, because like at 155, that's outrageous. Philip Rivers will find him. And
thanks, Ted. I put in a lot of thought to these 5 picks.
Yeah. Well, good. And now I'll steal him from under your carpet.
Fuck you, Teddy. Matt, go ahead.
I like Jack Doyle, but I'm probably not going to draft him. I'm going to pass because there's about 8 other tight ends in the same group that I like more. We kind of know what Jack Doyle is at this point. Yeah, Philip Rivers is a little bit of boost because we know that he likes tight ends. Yeah, Eric Ebron leaving helps him. But I don't know. You guys watched Philip Rivers play last year. It's kind of going downhill pretty quick. So that's not a guarantee that that's going to boost the pass offense there.
Hunter Henry had a good season because even if he can't push the ball down the field, he's closer to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, no, Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler got their catches too. But I mean, I've had Jack Doyle on and off on my team, over the years. I think he's a guy that you pick up on waivers at some point. That's where I'm coming down on him.
Fair.
Okay. So next up, a guy who originally enrolled at Notre Dame with his brother, but transferred out to Miami because he realized that hooking up with chicks 2 at a time and, Coral Gables is better than South Bend. Greg Olsen, moving to Seattle.
Greg
what
Olsen.
do you guys think?
I'm drafting him. I think he's in a great situation there. Russell Wilson loves his tight ends. Will Dissly came out of nowhere last year, and Will Dissly is not Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen has been a proven 1,000-yard receiver, and he's a very good security blanket for whoever's at quarterback, especially when you have guys like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf on the outside, sitting in the middle of the field and underneath the zone coverages. I think Greg Olsen is going to eat, and he's smart. He's like that Jason Witten type player. He's not the fastest. He's not the most agile player, but he knows how to get separation, which is so important at that position. And I think Greg Olsen is going to do well. Now, he has to stay healthy, but I'm drafting Greg Olsen. I want him on my team.
You also gave me the reason why I'm not. He's Jason Witten all over again.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily I want a little more potential than that. I love Greg Olsen as a player from the last decade and as in his future career as an announcer or a color guy on TV, because I think he does an awesome job, and whoever gets him is going to be lucky. I think he signed a contract actually to do TV, CBS maybe. But I feel like he's just transitioning into that career, that headspace. This is the Jason Witten year. I don't know. I don't see it. Nope.
I had the exact same thought, Teddy. It's Jason Witten last year. This year, it's not Jason Witten of old. It's Jason Witten last year. And I wouldn't be so quick to diss Will Dissly because I picked him up.
Unbelievable. I want to throw up.
even though he was injured towards the end of last year, I picked him up on my team to consider him as a keeper because Will Dissly is a fantastic player, and he fits. He's much more athletic than Greg Olsen. I think they brought in Greg Olsen to be a mentor on that team because they're kind of in rebuild mode. I would not touch Greg Olsen at all this year.
Fair.
Okay. Yeah, I probably would take a flyer on Greg Olsen just because the potential, he being so mature and understanding the game and realizing the opportunity that he has with Russell Wilson. I don't know.
Mature wasn't the way you described him earlier with this chick South Bend talk.
Yeah, that sounded cool.
Well, there are no chicks in South Bend, but in Coral Gables in Miami, where he transferred to, so he made the mature decision to go to Miami to find chicks.
The mature
tight end you.
No. Miami is not tight end you. Jesus H Christ. All right, so we've gone through 2 out of the 5. Number 3, talking about a team that I think really sucks and they're going to have a terrible season, but this guy could have you know what, he's been talked about as having numbers flourish the upcoming season. Blake Jarwin from the Cowboys. Are you guys
pass?
100%
pass. First of all, it's a Mike McCarthy offense who has never valued the tight end position at all, unless his name was Jermichael Finley, who's had a very tough time staying healthy on the field. You just saw he never drafted a tight end. What was his name? Richard Rodgers was a starting tight end for 3 years in Green Bay. Who the fuck is Richard Rodgers outside of catching that one Hail Mary pass?
The Rodgers.
So it's not a point of value for Mike McCarthy, and especially when you have now apparently 3 wide receivers who are going to catch 1,000 yards. There is what they're claiming between Michael Gallup, CD Lamb, and Amari Cooper. And you also have Ezekiel Elliott. All those guys are way more talented than Blake Jarwin will ever be. I think the max you see this guy go for is 500 yards, maybe 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Agreed. And then I'm glad you brought it up, Connor, because people are so high on Blake Jarwin. And I for the life of me, I do not understand why. He has never produced. He has had every opportunity to. He produced so poorly that they brought Jason Witten back out of the announcer booth to play alongside him. No, Blake Jarwin, no.
Yeah, people being high on him is not playing out in the rankings. He's 156 overall, which is one after Jack Doyle. And
there's a lot of talk about Blake Jarwin, right, Mike?
There's way too much.
Okay.
Unwarranted.
Okay, but it's not playing out in his draft position apparently. But like to me, it's like if like Doyle there's some reasons to be optimistic, but like you could still get Chris Herndon or Eric Ebron at this point, or Greg Olson for that point. Like all of those guys are ranked below him.
Take all of them.
Yeah, just not going to happen there. So moving on.
Yeah, no, I'm not touching Blake Jarwin for the Cowboys, but the next selection, as I listen to the siren and whoever's feed,
you can hear that.
Yeah, for sure. And Mike, you might want to protect yourself.
Bombs going off.
This is a team that's near and dear to my heart, most unfortunately. The Jets have a lot of question marks, particularly at receiver. This guy missed a few games for the drug policy, I should say, and then also for a broken rib and hamstring issues. But the Jets need receiver targets. And I think if you're going to have a full healthy season for a young quarterback, tight end is a big help and a bailout. And I think this guy's got a lot of potential. So Chris Herndon, what do you guys think? I mean, maybe not a draft, but a guy that you might be willing to or keep an eye on. Is he like one of those guys that you're flagging, like for the what is that button that you have on ESPN where you right. So I think it's compelling. Like he's a guy that I'm definitely going to keep my eye on for sure. But what do you think, Chris Herndon?
Yeah, Chris Herndon is in that group of tight ends that I like that are over some of the other tight ends that we mentioned. He has produced when he's been able to stay on the field and when Sam Darnold is on the field with him. We know that Adam Gase can, for all his faults with Le'Veon Bell, Julius Thomas's best year was with Adam Gase, and of course they had Peyton Manning, and Sam Darnold's not Peyton Manning, but the system works for tight ends. The athleticism is great. They lost Robbie Anderson. They bring in Denzel Mims, who's a rookie, not going to contribute that much right away. So there are, and I think I think Quincy Enunwa is out for the year or was put on or something. Oh, released him. So they don't have a lot of options. I think Chris Herndon is definitely somebody I would draft, and my tight end strategy is to stream them this year because I think there's so many good ones. And I might draft him to start week 1 or play him at some point.
I'm a big fan of Chris Herndon. I did draft him last year. I just pulled that up. He was my first pick in the 12th round.
Well, there you go. Good job.
Thank you. What's interesting, but I guess I like kind of piggybacked deep tight ends him there with Mark Andrews because I'd heard, positive vibes from both of them, both at camp.
We get it.
And
you're good at drafting tight ends.
So you should take my opinion with more salt, like a pretzel's amount, soft pretzels amount of thick salt.
Sea salt.
Yeah. But it left a bad taste.
None of that ionized shit. Sea salt. Yeah.
I had to drop him Himalayan if you can. Throughout the what was I saying?
So
the fact that he underperformed compared to Mark Andrews left a bad taste in my mouth. So I approach it with caution, but as you say, he's someone that's deep in a draft or undrafted. And yeah, I'm definitely looking at Chris Herndon. I tried to roster him even off the waiver wire, I think, at least in some other leagues, just to see what could happen, but he kept missing time and he was very speckled production, and that makes me nervous on the tight end. It's either stream them and just go week to week or get someone that's going to be there every week. And so with hesitation, but I appreciate the talent. And I think that he could be Darnold's best friend.
Yeah. I think you guys are proving my point here when I say pass. If you're talking about streaming Chris Herndon, you're not drafting him. He's a waiver wire or free agent pickup, so therefore he's not going to be drafted on my team. And I tell you what, I'm going to pass on him. it's the Jets. Those defenses there in the AFC East are very good. Miami is going to be much more improved. Guess what? New England, despite having all their players opt out, still has a very good secondary. They may not have very good linebackers, but their secondary and their safeties are still very good. Okay. And then we know the Bills. The Bills have a very good defense, good front seven, good secondary. Chris Herndon, unless I'm in a pinch and I got no other wide receivers and he has a particularly good matchup, he's not on my team next year.
All right, fair.
Okay, I think if you have the late round option, I think Chris Herndon's definitely worth a selection. I don't know what the Jets are going to do for wide receiver options and who's going to stay healthy. And I think Chris Herndon really needs a big year. I think there's a lot riding on this year in particular, if not only for him, but for the quarterback position. So I kind of like that selection. The final choice here, and I know I want to say you're going to all be universal on this because I'm contrarian, or I was contrarian, and when we talked about him in past weeks. Kyle Rudolph, a guy who's one of my favorite players in the league, but getting a little long in the tooth, playing in an offense that's probably going to be a little run heavy and has a extremely viable option, younger option, playing opposite to him on the other side of the line. So in 2 tight end sets, as is obvious. Kyle Rudolph, what are your thoughts?
I might take him. He might be in that group. I think somebody's going to take him in most drafts, just on name recognition alone. Irv Smith Jr. being there eats into some of that, but losing Stephon Diggs, I think makes up for it. Kyle Rudolph and Kirk Cousins have a rapport. They've worked together for now. This will be their 3rd year. And if Kyle Rudolph can stay healthy, which is a big if, there could be worse options because, tight ends, if you get 10 points out of your tight end, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I just need my tight end to not get 0. So if I can get 10 points, that's 2 catches and a touchdown. Kyle Rudolph can do that on any given day. And I think that he may be more likely to do that than some of these bottom tight ends 7 to 15 or whatever, because he has been able to do that in the past. So I could definitely see a case for drafting him if there's a big run on tight ends for some reason. I don't think there will be. And Kyle Rudolph is sitting there in round 13. I would take him. Yeah.
No, Kyle Rudolph works with Kirk Cousins the way that I work with my plumber. They it's a really good relationship once a year. Last year he had 367 yards and I'm expecting about the same. I think the ceiling is so low for him. Streaming, plug him in because I've got my guys on bye and I don't have a backup or something, but no.
I have a love-hate relationship with Kyle Rudolph. I have drafted Kyle Rudolph on all of my fantasy teams over the last 6 or 7 years outside of last year. And he has always burned me outside of his one season where he had 10 touchdowns. I am going to surprisingly pass on Kyle Rudolph, especially realizing I did not realize that his receiving numbers were that low last year, Ted. So thanks for that. Kyle Rudolph is a pure...
You all fucking suck. Yeah. You're all pieces of
hold
shit.
On. Well, hold on.
Fuck you.
His receiving numbers and his yards have been down every single year except for 2016 when he did 3 catches for 40 yards. But last year 6 touchdowns. 2 years ago 8, 7, 5. He had 9. So he gets
consistency. He does, but he is so touchdown dependent, and his consistency rating is one of the worst. As like I said, I've had him on my roster the last 6 or 7 years outside of last. Okay, and he is so touchdown dependent. There are games where he'll get 2 touchdowns, right, and 50 yards and stuff like that. But guess what? For the next 4 or 5 weeks, he is shitting the fucking bed, and I am relying on him to be a number 1 tight end during those points because that's what he was. But he just doesn't put up those numbers. He is a very good talent. He is a very good red zone threat. But until he puts up those numbers consistently, which at this point in his career he won't do,
it's not going to happen. He's fucking old, Mike.
Exactly.
He's not going to be he's not going to be the deep option for that offense anymore. Irv Smith Jr. is going to be the deep option because he's fucking faster and he's younger and he's much more athletic than fucking Kyle Rudolph. I love Kyle Rudolph. I the biggest fan you could possibly be. He is not the option for the Vikings going forward. That offense is going to be run dependent. They're going to be very ball control. That, in my opinion, Kyle Rudolph, you do not draft.
100%.
Irv Smith, perhaps. No, nope. You're waiting on waivers anyway. So no, neither you're not drafting out of Minnesota, regardless. All right, so that was my position. I think we got around all of us, covering everything. So that was a lot of fun. Honestly, just to hear everybody's ideas on all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But
I would like to touch on a few things quick before we end the show here. One, I would like to bring up the conversation again, right. Because I actually went back and did some research. And Matt, I believe it was you who were kind of making the point about rookie running backs in Andy Reid's offense. Rookie running backs in Andy Reid's offense. So you have to look at Brian Westbrook, who's had a fantastic career. LaShawn McCoy, who has also had a fantastic career, Kareem Hunt. Those are really the 3 rookies that have been in Andy Reid's offense. The only one who had success as a rookie was Kareem Hunt. And again, I'm just going to go that the value of in the first round is not necessarily there. If you look at Brian Westbrook's rookie year, no, he barely had over 200 scrimmage yards. LaShawn McCoy had 600 scrimmage yards. So, there's not enough to say that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to have a fantastic season. Can he be the same that Kareem Hunt was in his rookie season? We just don't know. And for that uncertainty, it is just unrealistic to spend a first-round pick, especially 6th overall, when we have plenty of other guys that we talked about who have proven production, who have been in these systems, who have been professionals for numerous amounts of years. It's just, I don't get it. Look, if you want to take him in the first round, that's fine. That's your prerogative. But I think you're an idiot if you do so.
All right. Well, you just called me an idiot, and I feel like this is a real gotcha moment.
I would never do that, Matt. You're a great man.
But here's your critical flaw. You're conflating 2 of my points into one. And my 2 points were that rookie running backs have been successful and that running backs have been successful in Andy Reid's offense. I never said that rookie running backs are good in Andy Reid's offense. Now, there's a first time for everything. Andy Reid never won a Super Bowl until last year. So why can't this be the year that Clyde Edwards-Helaire, rookie running back, does great in Andy Reid's offense? There's no reason not to. Everything that, when you look at the best rookie running back seasons over the last few years, they were it was so much more a product of the situation than it was of the actual player. And this is a perfect situation for a running back to come into. He's going to get a ton of catches. He's going to get the bulk of carries, and he's talented enough and durable enough, and played in a pro style offense last year to be able to produce. So yeah, there are a ton of questions because he's a rookie and it's his first time in this system. But this is how you win championships: is that you take a risk on guys like this.
Fair enough. And Matt, I just want to throw this out there. This is not an attack on you and your beliefs.
It was an attack on me.
No, this is an attack on the other buffoons that are out there who wholeheartedly agree with this.
Those buffoons.
Those guys. Also, 2 things I want to bring up because I take care of most of our social media aspects and, dealing with all these comments and things that I just want to touch base on because I think this is fun to talk about what people actually comment on the internet. So we have one guy who said today that double coverages are irrelevant. And when making that point, it is lazy and we can do better. about wide receivers who face double coverage.
And better.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, and let's clear the air right now. We have all played football at some point in our life, and double coverage is a real thing. And what separates a good wide receiver from a bad wide receiver is the fact that they can face double coverage and still make contested catches, not only just the catch, but they can run after the catch with that. When you look at guys like Davante Adams, Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, guys who are in double coverage, over 85% of their offensive snaps. These guys are making catches and they're running after they make the catch. That's what makes a good wide receiver. Now, a bad wide receiver who, like, I brought this example up, Amari Cooper. He was eliminated from 5 games this year in the NFL from double coverage. Double coverage is a real thing. And when you look at fantasy, this is why I brought up Stephon Diggs a little bit earlier. What's he going to be like facing double coverage 75% plus of the time? We don't know what that's going to look like. Can he do that? No, because he barely faced double coverage on 50% of his offensive snaps last year. So this is a real conversation that this is real football that branches into NFL, because people just think, oh, Stephon Diggs on Buffalo is automatically going to transfer to points, but not necessarily.
Just because there are some players who are not really that impacted by double coverage, superstars like Michael Thomas, Davante Adams, and Julio Jones, doesn't mean that other players in that middle tier aren't affected by double coverage, as you just laid out, Mike. And the extension of that argument is that what the defense does against a certain player doesn't matter, and that's just not the case. I mean, you look at in the past 5 years, when the Packers have played either the Seahawks or San Francisco, and Richard Sherman is lined up on Davante Adams. It was a little bit different case last year, but Rodgers would not throw the ball to Davante Adams because Richard Sherman was covering him. You can't,
especially when he was on the Seahawks, like that. Yeah. It just never happened.
It never happened. You can't take the game of football out of fantasy. Like, I think that's I think that's what we try to focus on in some of our analyses. And it's a fault if you don't think that matters when it comes to how they're going to score on your fantasy team, because it really does have a huge impact, whether it's a really good corner or they're scheming against him or he has history on that team or they're double covering him. All that matters, unless you're in that upper echelon of top 3 wide receivers.
And you make a point that I was going to make, or you touched on it, is that it's not only on the back of the receiver, it's on the quarterback too. Because like you said, like Aaron Rodgers just wouldn't throw it that direction. And it might not be that Davante Adams was like, oh, I can't get open. It's like, he just doesn't feel comfortable doing. You have to place the ball differently. You have to not only know where your receiver is going to be, but know where Richard Sherman's going to be at the same time. And so it's, you could even in some cases, you could have a superstar receiver and a quarterback that's just not comfortable with it, potentially.
Even the coach. I mean, a lot of times, let's talk about Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. Mike McCarthy was scared to throw into double coverage, which is why he game planned. Aaron Rodgers, it's not that he just decided, okay, Davante Adams is my first read. He's not there. I'm just going to go to my second. It was designed by Mike McCarthy when they were going against the Seattle Seahawks to not even Davante Adams was not the first option. He just eliminated that side of the field and was pretty much used as a decoy, which is what makes me a little more hesitant about Amari Cooper now, which is why you may see guys like Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb actually feast in that offense, is because Amari's going to draw the double primarily most of the time in that offense. And Mike McCarthy has proved it that in Green Bay, he shies away from it, especially when there's elite corner covering that side of the field. Yep, and especially with the fact that Amari Cooper disappeared from 5 games last year, I think is even more so a concern.
No doubt. I mean, the bigger point is, like, on those early in that run, the Packers also had James Jones and Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb.
Yep.
And then James Jones left, but they still had other receivers to throw to. So just the bigger point is, like, you have to look at your fantasy team from a coach's perspective to be able to project accurately. If there are other options and you know that the top corner, or they're going to double team that top receiver on that team, you have to look at the other options. You have to think twice about starting that player. That's fantasy 101, man. Mm-hmm. That's common sense.
Yeah. And it's not just necessarily the coaching too. It's like, you have to look at the quarterback too. The quarterback's willingness to throw to that receiver in double coverage, and also smart enough not to throw into double coverage. I think one quarterback, at least that I am well versed on, is Matt Ryan. Julio Jones faces a lot of double coverage. In fact, he faces second most double coverage behind Michael Thomas in the league. Michael Thomas was 91%, and I believe Julio Jones was like 89% of double coverage on offensive snaps. So Matt Ryan is smart enough to distribute the ball. Same thing with Drew Brees in New Orleans, by the way. They're smart enough to recognize and to throw, because a lot of times double coverage comes from, in zone or man. Obviously, those are the only two that you can run. But it's all about timing. I know that if it's a quick slant, yes, I can hit that guy, because double coverage is often just a safety over top. We're not talking about two guys pressed up on the receiver at one time, like punt coverage. That's not what double team means. So if you can hit the receiver on like a quick dig or a slant, then it's going to be open. So you have to look at the quarterback's willingness to throw to that receiver in double coverage, and also his willingness to step away from that receiver. Double coverage is a real thing. And
that's wild. Michael Thomas had 91% double coverage and still caught 150 balls. Like, why do it?
It's impressive.
Fourth overall, baby.
Yeah, very well could be.
Fellas, tonight has given us a lot to think about. It's been very productive, and I feel like we understand each other better than we did just an hour and 40 minutes ago. Anywho, it was lovely hanging out with you guys yet again. Is there anything anybody else wants to comment on or bring up before we wrap up this evening?
No.
I think we're good.
I got nothing.
All right. Well, if that's the case, I just want to remind everybody you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all that bullshit. You just look up Fantasy Football's Finest.
Whoa. Teddy Scissorhands.
And that is that's borderline disturbing. But regardless,
that's going to make the spoofs and goof reel, Ted. I hope you know that.
Gentlemen, it's been a hell of a week. Even though I didn't know that a hell of a week was going to be had. Had a lot of fun, and looking forward to next week, where regardless of what happens in the NFL, we're going to have a shitload to talk about and a lot of fun. Follow, like, subscribe, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everybody.